Ladies and gentlemen, inside the gacha space, it is rare for, any sort of hero that's not an epic or, rather a legendary or a mythical to be of a very substantial quality, right? So generally, your whole time in the game is spent chasing that next super rare legendary or that next super rare mythical champion or hero, in the case of Raid Shadow Legends at least. And inside Watcher of Realms, they seem to be pretty kind with the epics and even some of the rares that they give us in terms of how good a quality they are. So that being said, we are going to be talking about one of the epics today that is hands down the best hero inside her particular category, which is going to be as a healer. Now, if I were to tell you that I'm going to be talking about a epic healer that is potentially best in slot inside a lot of teams, you're going to think of a few options. First of all, you may think of Hollow. You may think of Vortex, you may think of Madan, you'll probably think of Dolores, you may even think of Nisande, but the hero we're going to be talking about here today is Lili, and just how absolutely fantastic she is. Now, she has very good reviews, as you can see, but I think she deserves to be called out specifically because she is sensational. Let's go ahead and take a look at her kit real quick. So, she has a talent. When Thorny Protection is triggered, which we'll talk about, it's one of her passives, the saved ally gains damage increase, which is a 30% damage boost. She has a basic attack where she's going to grant attack-based healing to one ally in range. Now, this is probably the weakest part of her kit because it's only a single target heal, whereas you have some other healers, like, for example, Hollow, who can heal multiple targets. But, that being said, with her ultimate, when it pops, it lasts for 20 seconds. It is an automatic ultimate as well, so you don't need to worry about timing her or anything like that. Each heal quickly restores HP for the target 2 times. Additionally, her healing multiplier on targets with HP below 50% is increased by 30%. This effect lasts for 20 seconds. And she has a very interesting range, which we will talk about because it is a huge part of her kit. Then we also have a passive. She's a very basic hero. She only has a basic, an ultimate, and one passive. So she prevents incoming fatal damage one time for one ally in range and immediately grants this ally, so that means them, shield equal to 35% of their max HP. This effect can only be triggered one time every 55 seconds. So this is insane because, first of all, it's giving shield equal to 35% of their max HP. If you're saving an ally, chances are they're either going to be a tanky fighter or they're going to be some sort of a tank champion. So either way, they're most likely going to have high HP, which means that you don't need to worry about her scaling, but rather it's going to be scaled off their max HP anyway. So in my case, for example, a lot of the tanks that I play with, they have over 100,000 HP. So this means that she's going to prevent their death and save them with a shield worth 35,000 HP, which is pretty crazy. So very basic kit, right? Very straight to the point. We can already start to tell how busted she is. Let's go ahead and take a look at Awakenings. A1, when Thorny Protection, so her passive, is triggered, restores HP equal to 20% attack for the saved ally every half a second for 10 seconds. So she's giving just astronomical heals to somebody when they're saved. HP plus 1200 on the A2. A3, when it's triggered, increases attack by 6% permanently, stacking up to 3 times. And this is going to be obviously her own attack, so you don't need to worry so much about building her with astronomically high attack because she's going to stack up her own up to 18% post-deployment, which is pretty insane. A4, attack plus 5%, and A5, during the effect of Sap of the Ancient, allies saved by Thorny Protection will initially gain damage immunity for 5 seconds, followed by the acquisition of a shield. So, to get this straight, when she's A5, you have a hero with a decent range who can do some crazy healing, right? You have an ultimate that's automatically popping and just bursting heals onto a targeted ally. This hero can also prevent death while giving a shield, and if you have her fully, awakened, she can then also give them damage immunity for 5 seconds. This is insane, right? She's such a good healer. Now, it gets better, though, because if we look at her overall attributes, she is a member of the Star Piercers. And why is this important? Well, if you look at every single Piercer, the faction team members' attack ranges are also increased on, again, every single Piercer Lord, right? So they all bring that member attack ranges increased by 1 square, essentially. So she is, I believe, actually one of the only healers inside this entire faction, at least one of the only ones that's really worth their salt. So, like, you have Nisande, who's in here as well. And then I don't believe you have any legendary healers. So, well, you have Tallulah. So Tallulah's another option there as well. But Lili is, without question, one of the best. And she can, as a matter of fact, get her attack range increased. So if we look at her basic attack, she's going to have another full set of squares added on to the front of that. And we'll show you why that's important in just 1 second. Let's go ahead and take a look at the gear, though. So this is how I have her built. 14,000 attack, 21,000 HP. She has a lot of attack speed at 459, so she's running on a 1.6 second interval. And then for the healing effect, I have 68 on her, nothing too crazy, 0% rage regen. Now, if you are really wanting to min-max her, you'd probably want to build her with more healing effect and more rage regen. So for that matter, in terms of the artifact, you're definitely going to want to run her with a golden scarab. Don't do what I did where you have her, you know, in a bright root ring. I essentially equipped her with this when I had, like, really nothing else on my account, but we're going to leave it with her for today for the showcase to make it a bit more accessible, right? Because not everybody's going to have a maxed out golden scarab. So in terms of the artifact, though, definitely golden scarab is going to be the way to go. The Elysian Epitaph is also going to be very strong as well because it's going to increase the healing effect single target by 3% for every one ally unit in range, which is very, very strong. Tumultuous Horn could help out a little bit as well. And then, of course, the Keen Wisdom would be a solid way to go too. Now, for the gear, these are the stats that I have on her. Essentially, that's probably the best piece you'll see. The rest of them are kind of booty cheeks. I am running Invigoration on the right-hand side, so obviously that affects what kind of stats I was able to run on her. You can see some of the sub-stats just aren't that strong. And frankly, I don't really have the resources right now to re-roll all of these pieces, so it kind of is what it is. Now, in terms of gear sets, we'll talk about that a little bit here as well. So for the right-hand side, ideally what you're going to do is run her in Wings of Grace or Invigoration, because both of these will give an attack bonus to her as well as whoever else is on the field when you place her. So they're both fantastic sets to use with her. You can also go ahead and run just any sort of a survival set on her as well. So anything that's either going to mitigate damage or anything that's just going to help her get extra HP, defense, those sorts of things, right? And so the same thing goes for the left-hand side gear as well. So things like Astral Guardian are pretty decent because it's going to give her additional HP and defense, right? And it's not your traditional way to build a healer, but especially for early game players, if you don't already have that tankiness, stuff like Astral Guardian can help you stay alive, or obviously Salvation is very, very strong as well for the early game. Apart from those, you can also use things like Light's Grace is obviously probably best in slot set for her. You can certainly also use something like Warlord for the attack speed bonus, as well as the increased attack are very good for healers as well. Obviously Whirlwind is fantastic. Life Force is actually a very decent set as well, so just giving her an extra 25% HP. Very, very strong. Now let's go ahead and show you content here and why she's so strong at it. So the first place that we're going to show her, if I can get past all these goddamn pop-ups, we're starting to look like Raid Shadow Legends here, is inside Malorix Halls, right? So I use her on every single run inside Malorix Halls. I did a video showcasing this team. If you're curious about the team and how it works, and if you want substitutions or anything like that, go ahead, check my channel. I showcased it pretty recently. It's one of the most viewed videos. You won't have a problem finding it. So what's special about Lili is a couple of things. So inside the team that I use, we place a hero up here, right? We place a couple of heroes up here. She is one of the only heroes that can actually reach when you're facing her to the right, because again, we have Eovar on here as a aura lead. We're going to go ahead and place down our Torador and our Umerit just so that we have our team set up as needed. Now, it gets even better though, because a lot of times when you have a hero, or when you're running these Malorix Halls, I should say, a lot of times you're obviously going to have the bombers coming in that just run at you and blow themselves up. So somebody like a Torador combined with a Lili means that you're essentially going to be able to deal with the bombers without really any issue because of her cheat death mechanics. So she is absolutely fantastic for this team. And then obviously because of the fact that she can make use of the Starpiercer Lord ability, combined with the placement on this map, you can place her here, and she can get the expanded range to reach all the way down to your Torador and cover them, which is just absolutely sensational. She is so good. And then obviously, at the same time, if you needed to have her facing to the left to heal people, she can do that very proficiently as well. On the left-hand side there, I have a lot of self-sustain, so my Kagiri is A3, meaning he can heal on his basic. And then I have my Talon inside Ichor Chalice, so she doesn't need to worry too much about it. So Talon is fantastic, or not Talon, sorry. Lili is fantastic because she can sit here. She can make sure that if Torador is going into his unyielding state, first of all, he's going to pop his unyielding. Then once his unyielding has expired, she can go ahead and save him additionally one more time as well. Meaning that effectively, instead of just getting through one wave of bombers, you can easily get through the full 2 waves of bombers without an issue with just those 2 heroes. Generally, if you don't have that as an option, you'd have to use Torador's passive to keep him alive. Then you'd have to deploy somebody else to be able to survive the second set of bombers coming in. So she is just absolutely fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and do a placement like this. We are going to go ahead and essentially just continue through this and get the rewards, because if I back out I won't get the rewards, and this stuff is pretty valuable for any account. The only thing that kind of sucks about her, I will say, it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. So that would be her auto ultimate. I personally prefer my ultimates to have just a little bit more controllability over them, right? Because you don't get to choose when she's popping her ultimate. It could go off at a really bad time. So for example, when there's no enemies coming, like you just seen on her last ultimate, she'll sometimes pop it, and then when there are enemies coming, she just doesn't have heals available. So that's a bit of a downside, certainly, though the rest of her kit more than makes up for it. We do also obviously have Eloin here, so we can go ahead and pop the Wood Elf when we need to for the heals. Our Kagiri does get taken out on the top lane, though, so perhaps we should actually go ahead and switch the Lili to be facing that way, because it looks like that'll be a continuous problem if we don't do something about it. So, you know, it is what it is. We'll go ahead and place our Kagiri back down here momentarily. We'll get the Wood Elf in as well. There we go. Kagiri will go back up top here. And then, so obviously Kagiri is going to have his own kind of like cheat death mechanics with the parry and whatnot. But then Lili is going to be able to help out there as well. So you can see the expanded range. Lili can now reach the Talon. She can reach the Kagiri, no problems. And she is going to be clapping cheeks in terms of the heals that she's putting out. She doesn't save Kagiri there, unfortunately, because he got whacked. I think she used her passive on the Talon already, so she couldn't really do anything about the Kagiri getting slapped around there, but it is what it is. Talon and soon Wukong will be able to take care of those guys coming in from the top anyways, I think, so it's pretty good. Kagiri is ready to be placed out again here. I think we'll actually go ahead and place him here just so he can help the Talon a little bit there. And then obviously he can ult, although his ult's not going to be very charged up, certainly in that position, so we'll get the Wood Elf out there as well, just some additional healing. And you can see just how proficiently we are progressing through this, because obviously Lili is there just absolutely busting out some single target heals. She's keeping people alive, and this has use far beyond niche situations like Malorix Halls. So for example, she is perfect for Gear Dungeon 2, where you may have people sneaking through on, like, for example, the bottom lane or something like that. She can keep your initial tank alive if the Ghost Banshee doesn't get pushed back, right? So when the Tormented Banshee, I think it's called, explodes and does that AoE damage, Lili can essentially say, hey, you're not dying from that damage, which is absolutely huge, because, otherwise you need to rely on some sort of a pushback hero. A lot of times they have a little bit of RNG introduced with it as well. So, it may not be 100% consistent, but she can just really help to make things significantly more consistent. Now, inside Guild Boss 1, inside Guild Boss 2, so Semra, she can also help out significantly there. She can help to keep your ally alive if they're getting slammed by the boss. Right, because she is basically preventing fatal damage for an ally in range, and that's a huge part of her kit as well. She's not preventing it for, the highest HP, the highest attack, the highest crit damage, whatever it may be. It's not a conditional prevention like that. It's simply just, hey, if you're in my range and you're about to die, I will save you. So it's fantastic, right? Because you can, you don't need to worry about controlling where it goes. A lot of times when you have mechanics like this in a game, it's going to be based on, like, highest attack or something like that, and you have to make sure, this champion has the highest attack in range, we're going to be good now. And then there's always that RNG with it where, it switches to somebody else randomly. I'm speaking mainly from range. Shadow Legends, it's particularly bad for that, but she saves somebody in range no matter what's going on. So let's go ahead and give her some ratings. Now, it is nice doing a showcase on healers because they're very simple, straightforward, to the point. You can just run them once and everybody kind of gets the idea. Gear Dungeon 2 and Gear Dungeon 1, she is absolutely a 5 in both positions. Now, Guild Wars, I don't really ever showcase champions there. I don't showcase heroes there. But she is an absolute 5 inside Guild Wars as well. She is definitely one of the best without a question. And the reason being is just the amount of teams that she enables. So you can enable your Torador teams because Torador is going to be a significantly stronger tank if you have somebody like Lili backing him up. You can have your Merit tanking, right, with just the extra ability to stay alive. It is so strong. Immortal Codex, same kind of thing. Faction Trials, she's absolutely a 5. She's beyond insane for Faction Trials. Titanic Rune's a 5 as well. Artifact Material Raid, probably a 4. She can very much do the job, but there are better options. Gear Raid 3 will give her a 4. Tide, she's going to get a 4. She has a lot of utility, but her base BP isn't that strong, and obviously for Tide, you need very strong BP. Void Rift, a 4. You're probably not going to be using her there much. Drake's Chasm, there's definitely some better options. Gear Raid 1, she's also going to be a 4. She's basically a hero that's a 4 everywhere, right? Like, she's definitely not bad. The arenas, though, she's going to fall off a little bit because you're not too worried about, you know, flat-out survival inside the arenas because you have other mechanics to go along with that. And generally, for any sort of a support inside the arenas, you're going to want a little bit more than just healing. So generally, you need something like an Eloin where she's rage regenning and those sorts of things. So those are going to be the ratings, pretty much a 4 across the board, apart from a few locations where she's a 5. But that being said, if you have her, definitely build her out on your account. If you spend money on the game, she has a pretty sweet skin as well that pops up. I don't think it's popped up in the shop recently, but it was from the Gold Dragon Pass. You may have that if you're a spender. She looks really, really cool in the new skin, I won't lie. But go ahead, build her out, use her. Let me know what you think and where you use her most. I'd be very curious to hear about that. But that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time.